Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Friday morning edition of the Mop here at the end of the week, going into the weekend. Cloudy, overcast skies. Temperatures in the mid-30s today, maybe a little warmer, and then drastic cold tonight again. And then we'll see. It's supposed to be warm again over the weekend. Well, welcome to the Mop. Bowling sure has changed. You know, I looked back when I was in college bowling and as a young adult bowling, new bowling balls came out not very often. And when they did, they were talked about, hyped up, video, you know, there was magazines. Nobody looks in a magazine anymore. It's all based off of pro or ball rep kind of reviews. And we are catering to high average bowlers. We don't want the shot to be bad. We don't want it to be tough. We want to cater to make sure everybody's comfortable averaging their best they've averaged. I shot 715 last night, and I finally carried. Yep, I bought a new ball this year. I bought an EXJ, and I'm starting to like it. But when you start seeing that there is a new ball release every other day, it seems, either the new weight block, new cover stock, new way to drill it, and these balls are all $200+, it amazes me. You know, I guess when I look back at the arsenals, I mean, I was privileged when I bought my first Danger Zone. And then I owned a Rhino, and then a Gyro, and then, of course, it all started with, like, the Firebolt and the Thunderbolt, and it was just an amazing that, oh, you felt so good when you were able to buy a new bowling ball. Went to Nationals, bought the new LT48 that came out with a new cover stock. It just amazed me, but now it's kind of just like you're overwhelmed. Kind of reminds me of the Harley situation that, you know, it was nice when a new bowling ball came out because then everybody kind of went on board with it. Now, with the manufacturers pumping out so many bowling balls, and then asymmetrical, symmetrical, solid, you know, it's absolutely mind-boggling. And then, of course, you have the pros throwing them, but let's face it, there's not many of us league bowlers that throw balls like they do. So then you get that and you go, wow, that definitely didn't do what I thought it would. That's where pro shops are important. I'm glad I have one at El Rey. Chris and Duncan and that family there does a great job at El Rey in Janesville for me. But to just go on, if you walk into a pro shop that carries, no wonder there's not very many pro shops in our area that have a huge selection. They'll order one for you because there's so many damn bowling balls out. Plus, we cater to those high average bowlers. And I'm to a point of burnt out again from bowling, and it's sad to say. But then you hear of local houses that seem to not care what they do for the bowlers. Whether they're open, whether they are friendly, whether they are regular service, their lanes break down. I've heard recently that there's a house that the heat was broke and there was people bowling in jackets and gloves, and I'm like, what? No wonder we don't have. I'm blessed to have a bowling alley where we bowl here in Richland Center. Like I said, if I lived in Janesville, I'd be bowling at El Rey. I like those guys a lot. I've bowled in a tournament at El Rey. They do a great job in Janesville. Our center here does a phenomenal job at making sure, at best, you can handle some of the things that breakdowns and everything else, but they do take care of the bowlers, and they take care of the surrounding community. As far as if you want to hold a tournament, fundraisers, whatever, Greg and Amy and Tom do a great job. But when do we get to the point, the part of that though goes to that people are, it amazes me how serious some people are. Their league bowler, it's a league average, it's a league. You spend 40 or 50 bucks a night, usually 30, 40, 50, some spend more, to win very little, but yet they are all so competitive. And my project got brought up a few times. I appreciate that. I'm glad people tune in. That's awesome. I'm glad people follow me. But I wanted to develop a tournament to where we can change, and hopefully next year, I'm going to see if we can do it next year, either at Richland Center or a different house in the area where we can change the oil pattern and then separate the cream from the crop. You should be able to go and, like I said, I didn't bowl well here in Boscobel. Well, I did. I only had 4 opens all day, but I couldn't carry. So it wasn't that I wasn't making the adjustments for some reason, either I was breaking late, whatever it may be. Bowling is a mental, strenuous game. Last night, I got fortunate. I threw the ball well. I still hit the pocket but I was able to carry, and that's the difference. But the amount of technology these days, I would have loved to seen, like, the guy I looked up to the most, Tom Bruss and his dad, Bud. I would have loved to seen Bud and these guys throwing the equipment that is out today. And the way the oilers and everything work. Those guys were averaging 200 plus on wood lanes that were bug sprayed and hand wiped. See, I think sometimes too we put a lot of faith in the oiler, and it's not stripping the back ends like they should. I think if you went down and manually stripped the back ends, even in center, I don't care how top end the machine is, I still say that the back ends are dirty and need to be hand cleaned, hand stripped. That's just my feeling. Because you can look at bowling balls coming back marked up, gummed up, whatever it may be. There is still things that the old ways won't fix. I remember hand stripping lanes with Tom and doing that stuff and making sure they're ready for leagues and hand stripping back ends. And you didn't seem to have the pin slide that you have these days, where pins are sliding 10 boards one way, 10 boards back the other way, and not falling down because it's just slick. So it'd be interesting to see if you want to try to understand where I'm coming from. I guess you got to be a bowler first. So with oil carry down and everything else, but I would think the back ends, I would just personally, to make my point validated, is sometimes go back and manually strip one lane after you've done it for league. Go back and manually strip one and see how much oil you're picking up after your machine has went through. But we also have bowling alleys in the area that have spent a ton on oilers and things, but they're failing to do the rest of the maintenance. And yes, I know it's expensive. But when you have pissed off bowlers and you have pissed off people that, because of not so much scores, but because of lane breakdowns or cold, no heat, closing up the bars early, I don't get that one either. You got a house full of bowlers. They're there for a reason usually. But that's where I'm at today. One of those things. Again, I think we're catering to the, it's kind of like Stansfield catering to the A and double A pool players versus the C players. Because those high average guys have to have that ego rub, or else they get frustrated. I'm averaging 207. I'm really not that. I only bowl one night a week. I don't practice. I'm fat, out of shape. shouldn't really be doing that at a house. On a house shot, it's pretty simple. But to average 200 anymore, it really doesn't take a whole lot of work. It's more mental. If you're not averaging that as a good I shouldn't say just going in and throwing house ball, but if you've been bowling for a long time, such as me, averaging 200 shouldn't be that hard with all the technology and everything we have these days. If you're a 200 average bowler, you're really I would say 185, 190. I've always been, before synthetic on wood lanes back then when I was in high school, I was 190, 195. And, but to watch, I would really, and this is where the GOAT things, I saw a poll yesterday, who's the top 5 bowlers of all time. For me, that would be tough. Because you're talking about technology and everything else. Of course, I think you'd have to break it up into eras. Because you've got the Dick Webbers, the Earl Anthonys, the Parker Bones, Walter Ray, Norm Duke. I mean, there's just so many great bowlers. I don't think I could come up with just a top 5 of all time. It would have to come out into generations. When I was in high school, Walter Ray, Norm Duke, Mike Albee, all those guys they brought all new things to the game, and Norm Duke, Pete Weber. It was all of those things like that I think you couldn't come up with a top 5 of all time without argument. Because Belmo, and now you're starting to see E.J. Tackett come into the mix. Walter Ray and Norm Duke and them did it for so long that, Walter Ray and Norm Duke and them were the ones that when you were growing up in the 90s, that's who you watched bowling, and Parker Bone, and one of the smoothest left-handers that you'd ever see. So, I think we're catering too much. House owners or bowling alley owners all know that that's true, but they have to. I've had a discussion with a few guys in Janesville that, one house is losing bowlers, one house is gaining bowlers because of all the high scores and everything else. But then you see these guys to go to state bowling tournaments and things like that, and you know that they are house bowlers. That's the tough one. So, that's where I'm at today. I bowled well last night. I had a good time. And I should say I carried well. It always comes down to carry, whether you carry it or not. And last night I did. So I shot well. Like I say, it's just too many bowling balls and all that stuff coming out these days. If you bought every new bowling ball that came out, you wouldn't have enough money, nor you'd have to have a big ass shed for it. So I think they need to limit that a little bit more, because people are just sick of hearing about all the new technology all the time. And it just takes some of the excitement out of getting a new bowling ball. So, and if you have to show up with 5 or 6 on a given night, I don't know. Maybe I'm just dumb about it. I might be dumb about it. I can get one ball change or 2, but when you're changing 3 or 4, and it doesn't make sense to me. It means you can't adjust anything else in your game, maybe. But, I have 5 bowling balls, but I only used 1 all night last night. I don't even throw a plastic for the 10-pin. I throw my same ball that I do. I just move my feet and flatten my wrist. That's how I was taught. Bowling was different when we were taught in the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, my coach harped on simple board moves, and it all still works today. So, thank you to everybody that tunes in. Thank you for your feedback. Sometimes it's funny when I hear the feedback. It's all good. But I thought I'd talk about bowling today just because it's pretty evident who we cater to, and when people get really pissed off about things that don't make sense. Such as when you run the first 8 or 6 or 7 and you leave a big 10, or you leave the fucking 9-pin or 8-pin. It sucks, but what do? You got to pick it up and move on. Unfortunately, I missed one of them last night. So it is what it is. That's all I got for you. Couple big tournaments coming up. I will be going to McFarland for a 5-man Baker tournament. It'll be interesting to see. I'll be waiting to hear back on that. That day I'm in McFarland. Prairie du Chien is having their tournament for the traveling tournament. Last I knew, their heater was broke, so it was 51 degrees there, and they had 3 lanes broke down, or 2 lanes broke down. So it'll be interesting. I'd love to have my bowlers back, but I think I've got my team. There's a few of them yet. There's one to get back to me yet that I'd love to have, but we'll see. I think he'll be at Prairie du Chien, so we'll see. I've got a few guys out of Janesville that I think are going to come and bowl with me, and that tournament always is fun. A lot of cockiness in McFarland, and we like to go there and rattle their brains a little bit. So I'm in that tournament. That's the 21st. It's a 5-man Baker, and it'll be a lot of fun. So we'll talk to you guys soon. And then Richland Center, I talked to Greg last night. April 26th is the Open, the Phoenix Open. So write that on your calendar. If you guys are planning on participating in that, that's April 26th. I don't think I'll be bowling in it, but probably be helping out with a few things. I've got a few things going on that will be taken care of, but make sure you sign up. That's always a huge event. Cole Phillips, the guy that now owns the Nordic Lanes in Westby, won it last year. Derek, a buddy of mine, will be there for sure. I'm sure all the local guys will be bowling in it too. But the shot should be good. It's been good all year. So we'll talk soon. Have a great day. And we'll be back Monday morning with another edition. We'll see what happens over the weekend and what happens in the news and all that stuff. But I thought something different today. And we'll go from there. As always, take time to bless somebody and have a great day.